Today we're going to talk about static machines versus flex machines on the Elektron Octatrack. I do want to mention real quick that I'm going to be referring to static machines and flex machines as static tracks and flex tracks for the remainder of this video because that's just how I've always thought of them. The static machine plus the track equals static track. Static tracks and flex tracks are both powerful tools on the Octatrack. Let's talk about what makes them different and their use cases. When you start a new project, you have 8 static tracks, kind of implying that that's what they expect you to use at first when you're using the Octatrack. Static tracks stream audio from the compact flash card located in the back of your Octatrack. You're able to switch these out, buy new ones, upgrade them, get ones with more memory or read and write speeds that are a little bit faster, which can affect mildly the Octatrack's performance. And because static tracks stream the audio directly from the compact flash card, there's nearly no limitation to the file size that a static track can play. A static track can play a 2 GB file. You can load backing tracks like stems from your computer or whole songs that you intend to DJ with using the Octatrack. This is stuff you can do using static tracks. This is where static tracks excel. Because static tracks load files directly from the compact flash card, when using long stereo samples, static tracks may have trouble keeping up with fast adjustments to the repitching or time stretch. These are the kind of things that flex tracks are better at. That's something to keep in mind when you're choosing between a flex or a static track. Am I going to be using really long samples? Is time stretch and repitch something I want to assign to my crossfader and have it feel very fluid and keeping up with the movements of my crossfader? A flex track has no problem with that pretty much in any situation. Flex tracks don't have this limitation with the repitch and the time stretch and that kind of stuff with longer samples. Their limitation is that they can't play these gigantic samples that a static track can play. With static and flex tracks, you have static slots, and on a flex track, you have flex slots. They're independent slots. Flex tracks can play back flex track slots and the recording buffers. That's what makes flex tracks so unique. Flex tracks allow you to play back audio without actually having to save the audio to the compact flash card. So you can record audio, manipulate it, and not have to commit it to your compact flash card, which is really great for live sampling, which is something the Octatrack truly excels at. I have a flex track and a static track, and if I double press source, you can see they have the exact same settings in their default settings. We can turn loop on, slice on, change the length to this relative time adjustment, adjust the rate to the pitch or time stretch, or change the time stretch algorithm from the normal algorithm to the beat algorithm, and then get access to the transient adjustment for the beat algorithm. Both of them have those features, and they work in the same way. I already mentioned that flex tracks kind of have this advantage over static tracks because they can manipulate audio without having to save it to the compact flash card. They have access to the recording buffers, which is something static tracks don't truly have access to, but you can kind of fake it a little bit. And they also have better adjustments to the pitch and the time stretch algorithms. The Octatrack has 80 megabytes of RAM. And as soon as you load a file from the compact flash card into a flex track slot, you use up some of the Octatrack's RAM. I know it sounds like not very much in 2024. It's still plenty to work with on the Octatrack, but it does mean we don't want to use these really, really long samples like backing tracks or whole songs loaded in the Octatrack on flex tracks. You're going to want to use static tracks for that. One of the most powerful features of a flex track is that it has access to the recording buffers. On track 1, I have a flex track loaded. If I double press the track, we can see these are the recording buffers. If we look at track 2, which has got a static track loaded on it, we go all the way up. It ends here. We don't have recording buffer access on a static track. Typically, when you're sampling on the Octatrack and you're using a flex track for that, what you want to do is assign the recording buffer to the same track number. That way, you're able to record and listen back to that audio at the same time on the same track. Now, if you're on a static track, you can still actually record into the recording buffers and have access to that. If you go to the static track and we say do a recording, you can see the plus symbol here. We've just got, static audio. If I go function rec 3, edit this recording, you can see it shortcutted me over to the recording buffer. And for a split second, if I audition this, you'll see it actually switches to a flex track to play back the recording buffer for us. So the Octatrack kind of anticipated that you might want to shortcut behind a static track and get into a recording buffer, and then it will just momentarily switch to a flex track for you just so that you can listen back to the recording buffer. Now, pickup machines also have access to the recording buffers, and they're static to the track as well. You can't have a pickup machine on 5 listen to the recording buffer on 4. They're fixed to the recording buffer. But you could have a flex track on 6 that listens to the recording buffer of the pickup machine on 5. Another powerful feature of the flex track. Now, the very last thing that I want to point out between flex and static is the audio editing functions. If we go into our static track and take a look at our audio editor, and I hit yes to go into my audio edit functions, you can see I only have 4 options. They're really basic. The only one that's really useful is calculating the BPM from a selection. If I go over to my audio editor on my flex track and we hit edit, we have lots of options. We have a full-on editor. And the reason why there's such differences between the static and the flex track here is because you can't edit existing audio on the compact flash card because it's just streaming from the compact flash card. So anytime you want to do actual audio editing, you do need to load it into a flex track. So you could load a longer sample into a flex track, edit it, then save it, then load it into a static track, and then you won't have to use up the RAM in your Octatrack. This is my short discussion on flex tracks versus static tracks. I hope this is useful for you on your Octatrack journey. My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT. I'll see y'all next time.